Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Greenway Forward podcast. Today I'm talking with Shawn Sustainability. So, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I've been waiting to talk to you for a while. We have a long queue now, and you've been someone that I've been following for a while and really wanted to have you on. So, it's good to have you on. So, did you want to talk about your journey into where you are in politics today?
Yes, when I was growing up in Virginia, Northern Virginia, outside of DC, it's pretty liberal, gravitating towards DC. Grew up skateboarding, punk rock, music, and uh, having fun. But uh, I met someone in the skateboarding scene who was a lefty. And I remember asking them like, "Oh wait, what is that? What does that mean? Like, what are you like like what? No, explain this to me. Explain this to me." And they at the skate park, they sat down with me and showed me. They just made some scribbles showing like people. Here's a boss. Here's a bunch of people. If all these people are organized, they can tell the boss, "Hey, we need these wages. We need this health care." And it just clicked. I was like 16, and then from that journey, I kept learning about it, slowly learning about it. 2008 happened, which kind of piqued my interest in sustainable finance, but that wasn't a thing yet. And then I had bad job after bad job, and I was just telling myself I could do it better than these people. Got my business degree, got my finance degree, and here I am.
That's awesome story. That's very unique too. Just completely. Was it out of the blue? Is this guy someone you've known previously at the skate park, like a friend of yours who just kind of went through it, or was this a random encounter of just, oh yeah, here's what I believe in, and I'm gonna just tell it to you right here on the dot.
He was a really cool skateboarder that everyone looked up to. And he's out there still somewhere. I think he owns a record label in Baltimore. He kind of got out of politics and he went towards the whole like bling bling, look at me, what's up? I'm like, I'm a big shot record label. So he went that way. He sparked the lefty energy in me, and I went towards lefty politics and economics. But at the time, he was a really cool skateboarder. Everyone loved him. So when he showed me this, not only did it make sense, but also I was like, whoa, this cool guy is spending 5 minutes with me to explain these concepts.
That's a great story, and that's something I feel like not a lot of people would get influence on from just some guy you look. I mean, you think of some guy you look up to. A lot of times you think it's this guy who might be, popular, but might not be the coolest guy. And to have him sit down with you and just give you that rundown, and you said you were around like 16 at that time when that had happened. When did you fully become involved in the Green Party since that date?
I was living in Virginia. I got the lefty spark from that skateboarder. All chaos started breaking loose, substance abuse, 2008. Northern Virginia was wild. I lost friends, I lost family. Moved to Boston. My cousin was running a pizza restaurant up here. And I kind of like, I still had the lefty heart, but I kind of just floated off. I was like, I'm going to help run this pizza place. And then Bernie Sanders ran for president. And I was like, I like flipped pizzas. I was like, oh my gosh, this is he's saying everything. I thought it was dead. I was like, lefty stuff is dead, but it's in my heart. But then Bernie ran, and I was like, it's not dead. This is it's full force. It's there. And then watching the Bernie movement blow up, and then we all know what happens. He gets sabotaged by establishment Democratic Party members. And I was like, I'm never going back to that. I've given Democrats enough stuff. I've given them enough votes. I've given them enough money. And in business and finance classes, they always say, start from scratch. You can do it. So I used my entrepreneurial muscle. I was like, yo, I'm gonna help Green Party. It'll help balance out the duopoly. It'll help hopefully kick more right wingers out, and the Green Party needs it.
Yeah, that's a great story and being involved in finance is something that I also wanted to bring up because your main shtick online is being involved in finance and, as your name implies, sustainability. Did you want to give a background on your finance as a green? That's something you wanted to hit on.
Great. Yeah, it's 2008 financial crisis, which was really Wall Street cranking up wild speculation with toxic bonds, toxic derivatives, and just doing whatever they want. And that kind of trailed from deregulation in the 80s and other various forms of financial deregulation. So whenever I would debate right wingers, a big thing that they would always say is like, "Oh, you don't know anything about economics. You don't know anything about finance." And I was taking business courses and I took a couple finance courses, but I was like, no, let's not slow down. Let's speed up. I'm gonna take more finance courses. I'm gonna take more economics courses so I can have a healthy defense for green economics, green politics. And then once I really got a grasp on everything, I was like, wow, right wing, speculative Wall Street finance is a complete fraud.
That's a great observation, and I feel like we need more people that are in this sort of sect in politics in this party that have these degrees. A lot of people, for at least what I've seen online, there's a lot of students and there's a lot of teachers that are also kind of involved in spaces like ours. But to have that background in finance and be able to really give an edge to yourself when debating these people, I mean, you're probably debating people who believe in trickle down economics. They think it's the best thing in the world, but you know much better having all these years and not just studying finance, but having a full on career in finance.
Only had a few years in finance career wise. I've worked at pizza places, factories, warehouses, hotels. The last few years, I've worked with a solar development insurance company. I did a little bit of time with the Treasury Department of the United States. I did a little bit of time at an investment bank, which was a little dicey. It was a little tense because I was all about sustainability, but they were all about being. I remember one time at lunch, they were like, Tucker Carlson. And I was like, I'm not gonna. I was like, this food is amazing. Lunch is great. I was trying to change the subject. That was tense. But yeah, we need more lefties and more greens in finance. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a another great story. You bring a lot of unique stories to the table that you really won't hear from anyone else. What job was that you were hearing that Tucker Carlson kind of conversation in?
I don't want to say the name of the company, but it
Obviously
was it
not,
was
yeah, but
it was a major investment bank.
so that's where it
And
was at. Okay.
yeah, it was an investment bank. I was helping them create I was helping them reconcile taxes for their hedge funds. So that's kind of why I met them halfway. I was like, tax hedge funds? All right, I'll tax it. I'll tax some hedge funds. I'm down with taxes. But my team, you could tell they hated taxes. Taxes was the devil. And I was like, taxes are great. Can I learn more about taxes? And I feel like that created a divide. They could tell I was like pro tax, and they weren't. And yeah, it was. But I learned a lot, and I got some good experience from that.
Yeah, that's great. Who would know? Who did you mentioned you were, what was it, living up in Boston whenever you had kind of started following along the Sanders campaign, correct?
Yes.
Who did you decide to vote for in 2016 after his campaign collapsed? Did you go with the Greens, stay non-voting, or did you concede to Hillary Clinton?
No, Jill Stein, and then Howie Hawkins, and now Jill Stein again. And you know, I pray that they keep having good candidates, and it looks like they are. And if we keep getting new people into the Green Party, our candidates will be even better. And we have a good fabric for getting new people in, and that's what I'm going to try to do going forward. Like, let's get new people in. And right now is a great time. Any time is a good time, but it's really good right now.
It is a good time, especially with the upcoming 2024 election. And I mention this on every episode, but if you're a Green in a local municipality township, try to see exactly what you can do. You can probably go and find whatever position and run for it, even if it's something simple as school board, a township county treasurer, something as simple as that. might be a bit harder to win county seats, but if you live in a town with 6,000 people, you might have a school board that has a vote for four, and there's only three people running. You go in there, you don't have to do any campaigning, and having just a single green on the school board would be like dramatically different than what it could have been. So it really all starts at the local level. Green Party is a grassroots organization, and if you can work at that local level, you can keep building your way up and up and up and up and up. But it all starts at the local level. People, some people are scared to get involved, and that's okay. But there's that small percentage of people that will be fully involved, fully drive into it, and I appreciate seeing news every time that it's election day, especially this year when I'm looking on like the Allegheny County election database of what was happening that year. It was live tracking the votes, just seeing that there was a bunch of independents and a single green, but a bunch of independents on there, and it just made me feel like, okay, this is good. We're moving towards a more non-duopolistic uh, way of voting, and even if it's just at the local level, seeing a bunch of independents who you never know, like they could be a communist or they could be some QAnon nut for all we know. But I'm glad to see the dissolvement at least of the major two party labels at the local elections, and that's where it all starts. That's where it all begins. Move up and up and up, and you never know what could happen. But I've always said, if you feel like you might have a chance to run, go run, see what happens. If you run unopposed, even better. If you can dedicate, you know, at least in my township, school board is 1 hour a month plus planning. Let's say it's 10 hours. If you can dedicate 10 hours a month plus 1 hour meeting, then there's a slot for you. Now, people, of course, are going to be busy. That's why most of the people on the school board are 70-plus-year-old people who, no matter who you vote in, is going to have some pretty terrible old generation takes. But at the end of the day, if you can get involved, you can spare that extra time. All you have to be is most places it's 18 to be on there. So if you're a college student, can spare that little bit extra time, maybe worth running for.
Absolutely. I always tell people an orange orangutan, fascist, right wing, sexist, racist became president. Anything is possible. So, people, I can't run, I can't do this. I'm like, anything is possible. Okay. That guy, the orange man, set the bar so low. And then the way the Democrats act, where they're just like fumbling, like they cannot hold the ball and run it into the end zone. Anything is possible. And it, I tried, I almost ran for this city councilor in the past, but a local lefty group asked me not to because they had a good network, and I was like, go for it. Hell yeah. I just wanted to run just to get rid of the right wing Dem that was here. But they ran and it didn't work out, whatever. But by the time the election came around, we had a really cool lefty person run and she won. And now we have a new union lawyer guy who just won. So, but I really hope I can go out there. I'm really outgoing, so I just want to talk to a million people and spark them up like that skateboarder sparked me up because anything is possible. We're always told support local business, support local artists. Well, let's support local small parties like the Green Party.
That's a great way of thinking, and there's so many ways to get involved. So you don't just have to run. You could try to find your local party and even just become a simple activist. You want to go protest on the city once a month. This was my main spark of activism was starting this podcast. It may not be a whole lot, but it's something that's given me a ton of motivation to get out there and act and speak and hopefully change a few minds on maybe if they're on the fence about running. And obviously, there's absolutely no pressure to run. But if you think you might have a chance and you can dedicate that time a week, you should absolutely go for it. And if you're running unopposed, even better. You don't even have to campaign. But a lot of those local parties might be able to help finance your campaign anyways. So if you're thinking, oh, if I spend this and this and this and I lose, you might be able to get finance through your local party anyways. So it's good to just have that network of people, good to reach out and even do things simple as maybe go out in the park and post online. I'm giving a speech at, you know, this in this parking lot of a playground or whatever at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Come meet me there and you can hear about it. You stand on top of a stone for an hour. You give a speech to a group of 10 people. But those 10 people, one of those 10 people could have been motivated by your speech alone to now go run for school board or to now go run for mayor or supervisor. Something just as simple as that. If you have 10 minds and you just changed 10% of those people, look what you have. That's even 10 people. What if you're speaking to 100 people? I always say that as a 10% rule. Say you're talking to people and 10% have a really good takeaway. That's a pretty fair estimate. 10% of the people have a very good takeaway of what happened. You speak to 10 people, that's one person that's changed. You speak to 100 people, that's 10 people that are changed. You speak in front of 10,000 people, that is 100 people, or that's actually 1,000 people that are changed from what you have. So do absolutely what you can and don't be afraid of those small crowds because even if just 10% of that small crowd takes away, that could be completely changing for your city, your municipality, anything like that.
100%. I used to go to Boston Common. I collect books, a lot of lefty books and lefty pamphlets and little lefty flyers. I collect a lot of it and keep it. And I used to go during the Bernie stuff to Boston Common and just I had a bucket of books and a little sign that I can't remember what it said, like let's stop Trump or something. And I would sit there in the Commons and I would just be like, yo, hey, what's up? Talking to people, just soapboxing like they did 100 years ago during, in the 20s, But I was trying to, it was like a tabling. My friend came up to me who's not quite into politics, and he was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And I was like, "Hey, watch this." And a crowd, like this huge crowd, like 100 kids from this high school. It's Boston Common. There's always schools and colleges doing tours. 100 kids were walking by, and I was like, watch this. When I say help me, you say stop Trump, help me. And 100 kids went, stop Trump. And it's just like everyone in the park turned around and we started laughing because we almost we almost started a rebellion.
That's awesome. Do you remember what some of the books that you were in that bucket that you were handing out?
Yeah, I would usually bring like I would try to bring books that anyone could kind of gravitate around. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, Black Reconstruction by Web Du Bois or W.E.B. Du Bois. And then I think like a Lucy Parsons biography. I had a few union books about organizing unions. But this was this is a few years ago. This was like right at the tail end of the Bernie Sanders campaign. But yeah, keep getting out there and I keep telling lefties, talk to strangers. In business school, they always teach us. I took a class where they literally taught us how to do 30-second elevator pitches, and I was like, oh my god, I need to teach lefties this because I'll meet organizers who are like, they love to plan, they love to plan, they love to plan, but they don't really know how to they don't know how to connect with strangers rapidly and do elevator pitches. um, I hate to say it, but you got to be a salesperson for the Green Party. You have to be a salesperson for leftist economics.
Yeah, that's a great way to put good out there, and especially go to rallies like you said. Even go to a rally, even if you're not, even if you're there as, not a Democratic supporter, but you're there for the same cause. I mean, obviously, is a lot of liberals might get confused upon. We don't like Trump just as much as you do. We don't want him just as much as you do. Just because we're critical with Biden does not mean that we want Trump back in the White House. So if you can get out there, and that was honestly a big reason as to why I came over here. I was always a Democrat for a while because all I was is like Trump, 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 Trump. That's all I thought about was Trump, 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 Trump. That was it. And then I realized, hey, maybe, obviously Trump's a big problem, but he is not what is actually the issue with the system. He's just a symptom of it. A big symptom at that, but he's just a symptom of it. And that's kind of when I had my whole political revolution over this summer. I mean, I've been a Green for not even 7, 8 months yet. And I just kind of thought, well, here's what's going on here. We have what Trump's doing, we have what Biden's doing. They seem to be doing pretty much identical things. Why am I standing with one and hating the other? There's no reason for me to be doing that. I spent a lot of time in June looking into things and thought, That's kinda when I realized the scam of the duopoly. But back in June, I realized I've been duped my whole life, and a lot of people who join the Greens have probably had those exact similar things. I mean, a lot of people in the Greens were probably former Democrats, but yourself was also one. I was one. A lot of people that I've talked to have been former Democrats, and it's just don't be afraid to leave the Democrat Party just because you've been there for your whole life. It might be tough. It was tough for me to make a decision, kind of in early June to start dissolving away from it because that's all I knew. I didn't know about how in depth the Green Party was. The way I saw it was the Green Party came every 4 years to come sabotage the Democrats every year. But that's of course nowhere near true. We do a lot of grassroots activism. We do a lot of local elections, and the whole myth about the Greens coming in every 4 years to destroy Democrats, just pure DNC propaganda. I added this. It's actually quite effective how Democratic propaganda works. I was having this huge debate last night with a liberal who claimed that Jill Stein is a Russian agent, and it took me. It's That's my least favorite thing to discuss because every time they will claim something, I debunk it, and then they just want to say, but here's the thing, no matter what you do, no matter how you approach them, they will always say, but here's a picture of her with Putin. Every single
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
it's the only
yeah.
thing they default to. I've seen that picture hundreds of times, and
Oh my god.
it means
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
absolutely nothing. There's pictures of Hillary Clinton. Oh, every presidential candidate, there's hundreds of politicians who have pictures of Putin. That means nothing. And on top of that, each state Green Party has its own network, and you know, Jill Stein isn't Jesus. She's a human being, but she has a good candidacy. She has a good platform, and we gotta strengthen the party to hold her accountable too. And but I align with her more than I align with Biden.
Oh, absolutely. And there's probably a lot more that you can potentially do, being that she's also from Massachusetts. Getting that is the biggest thing that I feel like is overlooked in presidential elections. You want to have the biggest voice in the home state of the president. That's why Evan McMullen did so well in 2016. He got, I believe, over 20% of the vote in Utah running as an independent, just because that was his home state. Now he's a Mormon, and that probably had a lot to do with it. But but the fact of the matter is, be loud at your home state. He wasn't on the ballot for many states. Maybe he was only on the ballot for Utah. I can't speak on to where he was exactly on the ballot, but Jill Stein is probably going to be on a majority of the ballots, if not all, in 2024. I believe in 2016, she was on at least 46, 47, I believe, ballots. Because I know she had enough to get to 270 theoretically, but the best course of action for a third party candidate is to be the loudest possible in the home state. I believe she lives in Boston as well, and she,
She lives outside of Boston,
yeah,
but she lives nearby. I've met her a couple times. She's really cool.
I'm jealous now.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole myth about the party's too small, it's not capable. The president of France created his own party out of thin air and became the president of France. So this whole, and then in business school, I see the entrepreneurial department. There's thousands of these students who are like, all right, how can we make $1 billion out of $1,000? How do we do this? How do we do? And I'm like, look at these business students who are like drawing business models on how to turn 1,000 into 1,000,000. And if you talk to any Democrat, they're like, oh yeah, yep, entrepreneurship, turn 1,000 to 1,000,000, totally. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna take that framework and I'm gonna do it to the Green Party. They're like, no, 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 no. Support the Democrats, support major corporations. I'm like, no, no, I draw the line here. My foot stops here.
Yeah, that's a that's a great point, and that's the thing with the Green Party is a lot of people like myself. Whenever I was a Democrat, I was with them purely because I hated Trump so much. I can admit I had Trump derangement syndrome. That's okay. I recovered from that, and um, but the thing with them is I was with them, and what appeals to a lot of people with them is that of everything they say is so appealing to people who are truly in their hearts progressive, truly in their hearts probably leaning socialist. They say all these things that make complete sense, but when you really look into it, they don't do a single thing that they say. At the end of the day, they're right-wing corporate capitalists. They are not for you. If you are a progressive or you think that you lean towards socialism, that is not the party for you whatsoever. They're just going to pander to right-wing capitalism at the end of the day. They're going to pander to conservatism. It's just such a failed party. And as much as I hate the Republican Party as well, the Republican Party is not a failed party. They have a strong grasp on that right wing, that far right wing sector of people, but the Democratic Party is just kind of that middleman between, full on leftism and full right wing corporate capitalism. They're that middleman, and they're so weak because it's so easy to break off of them and go left and become socialist, Marxist, communist, etc. And it's so easy to break off and go right even more and just go full corporate capitalist. It's such a failed party is an attempted middleman, at least what it is nowadays. And that's why a lot of people are breaking out of there. You don't see a lot of people breaking out of the Republican Party, but you see a lot of ex-Dems that are moving left, such as us too, and pretty much everyone else that I've spoken to.
Yeah, you saw a huge a huge reorganization after the Bernie Sanders campaign. I saw people going all sorts of directions, even right wing, but not that many. Mostly they all went left, or they're still in the Democratic Party fighting. And I still try to have good relationships with my lefty Democrat friends. I'm like, hey, I support you. Please support me. Please support Greens. Let's create a dynamic to get rid of right wingers. And you see DSA working within the Democratic Party. You see labor unions working within the Democratic Party. And I'm like, do what you have to do. I'm going to be positive over here with my fellow Greens.
That's kind of the problem I have with DSA, and I know a lot of people in DSA, and they're phenomenal people, but the organization itself, I really it's hard to support because at the end of the day, they work with those Democrats. They're kind of a middleman between Democratic Party and being a socialist. It's like, yeah, I want to save the Democrats, but I'm a socialist. It's like that. It's kind of like that edge of the duopoly. Like those people are so close to falling off and moving truly left, but they're just staying with the Democratic Party. And the problem that I have with DSA is at the end of the day, they always fall to capitalism. They always will support capitalist ideas. They'll always endorse capitalist ideas. They'll always endorse capitalist politicians instead of taking a stand. If you're a socialist, a self-proclaimed democratic socialist, why are you endorsing Joe Biden? You should be
Ooh,
endorsing whatever progressive socialist candidate there is. You want to go endorse Dr. West? Go for it. You want to endorse Dr. Stein? Go for it. You want to endorse Claudia? Go for it. But you see these people that it always at the end of the day are falling towards capitalism in the DSA organizations and the top level politicians. The local politicians have not really as much, and the people that I know in the Allegheny Greens who are part of DSA don't see any of that at all. But it's that organization in itself, the main top level organization, and those federal politicians at the end of the day just always end up falling to capitalism. And that's why it's really tough for me to support them as a whole, and why I would just love if a lot of those people would be able to completely flip over and vote green. Now, a lot of local DSA people I know do vote green, but are just,
yeah.
part of DSA. There's a group of DSAs that are going to be voting in a year, and they're all going to vote for Joe Biden. Well, what's that accomplishing? If you're supposed to be this near, your DSA is practically in a true economical spectrum would be a centrist, maybe a touch left. Those people are going to be voting for someone who I can't even speak about everything that he's done, but they're going to be placing a vote for Joe Biden. It's like you want to actually stay true to your values, stay true to your change. You have three candidates that are that are that are running that you have the choice to vote for. Pending ballot access, pending whether the Democrats sue them off like they did to Howie Hawkins in 2020 in PA. But you have options, and you have three main leftist options You're gonna have Green. You're probably gonna have Dr. West Independent, so long as this campaign doesn't crumble as much as it already has. And
Ah,
that's the thing that really stinks is I was really rooting for Dr. West for a while,
same.
and just seeing his campaign completely fall apart. Going from People's to Green, that's fine. I was not very happy when he was first announcing his People's Party. Announcing his Green, I'm like, okay, this is where he's already known as a philosopher for a while. He's evolved in Harvard for a while. This is his big chance to give a huge platform to the Greens. And for a while, his campaign was phenomenal. And then back in September, just down the toilet, just like that,
Yeah,
having a lot of campaign issues. Um,
yeah.
his campaign
Onward and
manager was,
greenward. Onward and greenward.
yeah, and then him switching independent, losing all that ballot access was the final nail in the coffin. And it's like, I don't think I can support this campaign anymore. As much as I
No, no.
respect Dr. West, that
Oh
campaign
yeah.
is just not a very well done campaign in the slightest. And I've always liked Jill Stein. She was a main inspiration for me to, I watched a lot of her talks and such. It was my main inspiration for getting the Green Party was Jill Stein. And when Dr. West ran as Green, I thought, man, I like him and I like what he stands for, and I'll probably end up voting for him. But I would much rather have Jill Stein run as Green. I wonder why she isn't running. And then it came out that she was helping Dr. West in the Green Party, and I thought, man, if we get like a West Stein ticket, I would have been so over the moon. But now we see Stein taking the green position, and obviously she hasn't won the primary yet. But I'm very curious to see who she's picking as a VP if she were to theoretically win. If maybe she'd pick Huma Baraka again, or as a lot of people have pointed out, if you had like a West or a Stein West ticket or something like that, that could really unite the left because we are very split. If you look at polls that people are taking amongst leftists, the amount of people that are voting for Stein is only slightly higher than the people that are planning to vote for PSL or Dr. West. And we really need to unite those people together. If you had a Stein West ticket, now you got the West people that'll hopefully side with Stein. Or if you have, well, you can't really. The thing with the socialist girls is they're already working together, so it would be hard to form a more unity ticket with them. But even if you just had a Stein West ticket running, now you've got that 30% or so leftists that are going to vote for Dr. West. Move on to Stein. Now you've just completely doubled your power in the blink of an eye, just like that, from picking him as a VP. So that's my only real concern going into 2024 is that this is the third party's most like biggest chance for like over 150 years, like, since the Lincoln presidency. This is the biggest chance for third parties, and I'm just worried about the how that might split between. I don't think the PSL girls are going to have a ton of ballot access, honestly, so they may not be as uh, people who are going to plan to vote for who don't have ballot access in their state might vote for Steiner West. But to see those that kind of, and I hate to use the word split because that's a term that the Democrats like to use to insult us, but it really is taking the leftist vote and putting into three boxes when if we really want to rise up and use our voice and power to vote, having all of them vote, we get a single candidate that would represent us all. That's our biggest shot at having a good chance. I would be really happy if Stein even got 5% of the popular vote. I would be so happy if she got 5% of the popular vote. She might even get 10. You never know what she's going to do. But I think a good benchmark would get 5% of the popular vote and see how she does in Massachusetts. That'd be completely all right with me. But if you have Stein getting 5%, let's say West gets 3% and the Socialist girls get 1%, that's an extra 4% that they could have had as a whole leftist group. Now, of course, all those should be included in the leftist vote. Like, yeah, like we voted 9% of the general election, but I really think that putting it all into one candidate that truly represents us all, and I feel like Jill Stein is the one in who is she's further to the left than Dr. West, so she will appeal to the more hardcore leftists, and I feel like she's the person that truly represents the whole leftist unity as a whole.
Yeah, she's a great candidate. And from a business point of view, the green brand is amazing. You can tell people about greens like, hey, what's up? It's green, environment, union, health care, peace, sustainability. And I always think of it like a business too. I'm sorry to all, I'm all about sustainability, egalitarianism, but you have to have a framework for drawing in people. And I I know we don't like to say split the vote, but I just ignore, I support everyone. Okay. I support except for right wingers. Okay, PSL, okay, DSA, whatever. Do you? I'm gonna focus on being a salesperson for Green Party, talking to people, trying to draw them in. And on top of that, from another financial point of view, things are not getting better. We have two massive uh, battlegrounds in Eastern Europe, Mediterranean, and we have wealth inequality getting bigger, and people people are running out of savings. People's budgets are getting tighter, and when that happens, people start to ponder what's going on in life, what's happening with our society, and that's when we should be there to be like, hey, if we organize, if we stick together, we can create a really good world. Don't Please don't try to throw your money away on the lottery. Your odds are better if you unite with people in solidarity to form a better community.
Absolutely. And if the Biden presidency has shown us anything, it is Democrats are not the savior. They always say, vote Democrat for, abortion rights, rights of
Oh my
minorities,
god.
or raising minimum wage, workers' rights. They say all this stuff, and if it's really been, the Biden presidency has been nothing more, nothing short of an absolute disaster and train wreck. But this should be enough proof, and the media is showering away all these things that have been going on. And if it's been any proof, it's that no, the Democrats are not here to give you all these things that they've said, and and that's the thing. They use that threat of, but if you're a Republican, they'll take that away. Well, if you vote Democrat, they don't do anything about it either way. So why should we be giving us? Why should we be giving them our vote?
Yeah, exactly. The Roe v. Wade killed me. No primary killed me. Like I was with my in-laws and they're hardcore, they're lefty Democrats. They support my leftism. They love me and I love them. But I don't ever bring up the Green Party with them because they're my in-laws. I don't want to like upset them. But we were watching the news one day and they were like, they just burst out, why is Biden running again? And they were like, what the hell? Like, and I was just like, holy crap. Oh my God. And I was like I was trying to, spice them up. I was like, yeah, yeah, Biden, what the hell? Like, I was hyping them up. But I didn't want to go, hey, vote for Jill Stein. I don't want to upset the apple cart. They're my in-laws, but no, yeah. The Democratic Party has let me down a million times, and they let down society a million times. People will be like, "Oh, the Green Party splitting the vote." The Democrats have billions and billions of dollars in their war chest. There's millions. There's 100 million voters out there who don't vote, and they could easily use those resources to activate people in the community, and they don't. They try to means test. They try to triangulate and get the lowest common denominator. They try to poach right wingers. They try to poach Republicans, and they sabotage Green Party elections. I'm like, no, I'm not down with that. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, and that's what you're told. You're told if you don't vote Democrat, this is what the Republican Party is going to do. And not only are we seeing, loss of rights for minorities at an all-time decrease, not an all-time decrease, but it's been decreasing so much. And w- w- we were under a blue president. That's what you told us. But we're under the threat of, getting Trump reelected. You're told vote Biden and this won't happen. Well, it's happening right now. So what is your explanation? They don't have an explanation. The Democrats' only platform is we're not Trump. That's the only thing they have going for them. The Republicans, like I said, Democrats are a completely failed party. The Republicans are not a failed party. They are a phenomenally strong party amongst their voters. They know how to get those people, and they know the talking points. And the main difference is that even as extreme you know how much I hate what they do, they actually follow through on their word. They say, "Oh, we're going to have an abortion in 6 weeks in the next state." 3 weeks later, bill gets signed. It might be something that we think is abhorrent, but they actually are able to solidify their base by putting in action. It might be terrible action, and it's not action that should be praised, but they are able to get those voters. That's why you're not going to get any of those voters to really come over and support those ideas of the Democratic Party. Even though the two parties are almost the same, you're getting the Republicans and the Democrats warring over each other about two identical candidates. That's the thing that's going insane, is that I don't get why conservatives hate Biden so much. He's everything you want in a president. He just has the D next to his name. If it was an R
Yeah,
next to his name, you'd be praising him for everything he's done. Biden is
yeah,
truly the president of the conservatives in this country, and it's insane to see how much they hate him whenever he everything he believes in is literally what they want. They want someone like him in office, but if it was Trump doing all those things, you know they'd be praising it and the liberals be hating it. Oh my god. Could you imagine if Trump was in office and doing all the things Biden would be doing? Liberals would be freaking out, conservatives would be happy. But now it's the opposite just because of simple party labels, and that's how the duopoly has completely manipulated us all.
yeah. It reminds me of when I used to work at a grocery store. I would talk about politics to customers. Like while I was ringing them up, I'd be like, "Hey, did you hear about this local thing?" And nothing would ever happen. But there was another cashier who would talk about sports, and he would fight people over sports talk. And the boss came over to me and told me to stop talking about politics. I was like, yeah, but what about him? He's literally fist fighting people over sports. Ah, but it's sports. And I was like, oh my God. So that reminds me of like voters who are irrationally loyal to a group. It reminds me of these sports fans. They're just like, boy, I hate the New England Patriots. I hate them. But it's like, but these are all sports. Like you shouldn't be fighting people over it. But when it comes to politics, it's like everything you're saying. You're a Republican, but you align more with Biden, and Trump is a lunatic. It's just that's a whole mess, and that's why I don't support any of that anymore. That's why I'm like I'm gonna put all my energy towards Greens and organize.
Yeah.
And new voters, try to activate and inspire people.
Oh yeah, like a lot of those young people who hopefully are gonna get involved come 2024. I mean, my first election voting, and I'm very excited. And a lot of these um people. The thing with the Gen Z is we're told that they're like the most, progressive leftist generation out there. But the problem is a lot of them are just gonna see the Democratic label and they're gonna just put their vote towards Biden. And you know, I hate lesser of two evilism so much because look what lesser of two evilism has got us. It's got us Joe Biden, and we're gonna be told we have to vote for him again in 2024. And oh my God, if he loses in 2024, we're gonna be told to vote for him in 2028. If he loses in 2028,
Yeah,
we're gonna be told to vote for him in 2032 if he's even alive by then. But for as long as Biden and Trump have been around, or around, especially Trump, we're gonna be told you had to vote Democrat, and then once Trump's gone, that's it. Well, Trump could be in. You never know. He's. I don't think he's even 80 years old yet. He could be in politics for another 20 years. He could be 98 years old, being wheeled around in a wheelchair, and still be doing work. He could be in politics for another 20 years. You mean to tell me you want me to vote Democrat for the next 20 years just to prevent Trump? That's why. Imagine if Trump won 2020, got a second term. We would never have to hear anything about him ever again. They're still gonna,
yeah.
but the problem with that is they're just gonna find a new person to be against. It'd
I
probably
was
be
just about
it'd probably
to
been
say,
Nikki Haley.
Trump has created a seal of the Trump seal. So now new candidates are like, I got the Trump seal. Vote for me. I love. Oh, look at all the Trump things I did. Vote for me. I'll be a great candidate because I have this seal. I helped with the campaign, and it's disgusting, and It's just revolting, and um, that's why we got to talk to there. There's an ocean of people out there who, like you said, Gen Z and statistics and demographics and everything show Gen Z. Yeah, I mean, human nature goes leftward. People want to help each other. People want to pool resources. People want to, see a stable community. Gen Z is going leftward, and we just got to go out there and talk to them and activate them. And there, you never know. Just like when I told you at the park, you never know when there's going to be a huge swath of people who are like, "Holy crap, that was really cool! Tell me more. Let me join." And then you have, I talked to old heads from like the '60s and '70s during, like, the Vietnam War and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, one day I went to this protest and I signed up like 500 people." And I'm like, "Oh my god, what happened after that?" I never called them back. I was like, "What the? Why didn't you call them back?" And I was smoking weed and doing this and doing that, and we were going to protests. I was like, "Oh my god, 500 people in one day! I would kill for those numbers." So, yeah, that's another reason why I went to business, because I was like, how can I help incorporate a serious, sustainable framework for keeping people in the Green Party and building it in a serious way so people take us serious and long term progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And flipping those people is going to be the greatest hope. I think that in come 2024, we're probably going to see record number of people that just participate in voting. A lot of people are fed up with the duopoly. We'll probably, hopefully, see record numbers for third parties since, let's say, 2000. We'll just use that as a benchmark. I don't know if they will get more than Ralph Nader did, or probably not Ross Perot. I still don't know how he managed that 92 campaign of 19% of the popular vote.
He's rich.
That was incredible to see.
Yeah. And then you got no one's talking about RFK. RFK is really the guy splitting the vote. He's a loyal Democrat his whole life. His family, I mean, Kennedy is, that's the Democratic seal. Kennedy, a Kennedy likes me, or Kennedy is running. We have a Kennedy around Boston who lost to Ed Markey, but RFK is out there splitting the Democratic vote. But and that's a whole different story. But um, yeah, keep activating people. That's my main focus, and uh, writing financial analysis for the Green Party. I got this really cool book here I wanted to show you. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's great.
it Financing the Green New Deal, and it just talks about all the systems that we could use to create all the wind turbines, functioning public transportation, and it's really a framework for banking. But the Green Party created the first Green New Deal, and then the Democrats stole it. Kills my heart.
Yeah, that's actually something I like to bring up when I can have podcasts about public transport, because that's something I've always been really into. Even recently, I my project that I want to do this every summer. I try to do some sort of personal project and just see what I can do. And this summer, I landed on documenting the Pittsburgh light rail, and
Awesome.
I made this extensive video. It took me like a couple weeks to do. I put probably like 20, 30 hours into it. It was a great journey, and that's honestly one thing that kind of sparked me. Was I did that at the end of June, and right around the time was me investigating, green politics and such. And I thought, if we can improve the Pittsburgh light rail, this could do wonders. Now, I'll discuss it for a little bit, but I would also like to hear about Boston's um, public transport system. But Pittsburgh's is they have light rails and we have buses. And buses are kind of the prominent thing. Light rails go from about uh, 13 miles south of the city. They go all the way to the North Shore. There's two paths that it takes. They start at different ends. They meet for a couple stops and they split off, and then eventually meet again in the city. And it's a great system. I love riding on it. It's really easy to go from down here south of Pittsburgh all the way up north in 35 40 minutes. absolutely great system. Problem with it though is that it's been unexpanded. It used to have a few more lines. It used to have a line that went further south. It used to have a line that would branch off another, and they weren't significant lines. You know, they might have only had 10 stops or so. But one of the projects that Pittsburgh is trying to do is to expand the light rail a lot further out. Maybe have a line go to the airport. And expanding light rail is going to be the biggest thing that I want to see revolving around environmental public transport relating things, because light rail is one of the best systems that we have out there. And regarding the buses, those are a lot more prominent. Those run everywhere in the city. The problem with the light rail is that it goes to so few stops. If you're not directly on the line, then there's very few places you could actually walk from your home to the light rail, because usually it's in front of businesses or shopping malls or shopping plazas of some sort. There are very few people who can actually leave their house, walk 5 minutes onto the light rail. A lot of times you have to go to a park and ride. You drive maybe 10 minutes, park, and go wherever on the light rail. And that kind of defeats the purpose of it. I like having that option, but it does kind of defeat the purpose of what it's meant to be. And getting a light rail expansion would be absolutely huge for people in this area. And I do like the fact the light rail goes south of the city, because a lot of places it might only be within the city limits, but you can take it. I'm at the very end of the line, and there's so much that can be done in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, and even the North Hills, like expanded everywhere in the city. If you had this massive light rail transport around Pittsburgh, can you imagine how insane that would be? We would have so much more sustainability, so much cleaner energy. But I do appreciate how the bus system is. You can pretty much go anywhere you want in the city, and then south of the city, and even north of the city on a bus. It's a great system that we have, but I really want to strive towards having more expansive light rail. Now, did you want to talk about anything from Boston's?
Boston is the oldest public is the oldest subway in the United States, and we're going through our own problems, and that's a whole financial knotted up ball of garbage because through the years, governors and you know, people, the executives of the MBTA have just created this financial smorgasbord. There's like a French company that owns a stake in our public transportation, and they've tried to privatize different sectors of the transportation network, and it's just nasty. And this goes back to talking to strangers. We have a ton of people in Boston who are obsessed with public transportation, and it's beautiful, but we're not talking to the the train inspectors, the platform attendants, the conductors. We're not talking to them enough. I try to talk to my platform attendant all the time. I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's the news? Like, how's your union doing? What are you up to? Have you talked to the other unions? Like, I'm like, I've talked to the transit police. They get $100,000, if not more, and they just they just hang around. And I'm like, look at that transit police officer. He's getting $100,000 to sit in his SUV outside, and you're here on the transit platform, and you're getting paid $15 an hour. Like, that's not right. You're a first responder. I hope you know that you have a great job in the public transportation. Um, so I do that, and I talk to the platform attendants. Our commuter rail is amazing, but that's because rich people use it. So that's really well funded, and but you're starting to see the pendulum swing from cars back to public transportation, not because politicians are egalitarian all of a sudden, but because the system of resources cannot handle cars like it used to.
Mhm.
We and China has, if you look at China's high speed rail system, it's insane. It's just crazy. But United States, we're the wealthiest country in the world, and we're the most powerful. We need high speed rail. Like, I shouldn't be doing this Zoom call with you. I should have been like, hey, I'm going to take high speed rail down to Pittsburgh. Let's meet in Pittsburgh, and be there in a couple hours. And I'll just spend the day there in Pittsburgh and then ride back on high speed rail. But trains and buses, and then like they have hybrid, not here in Boston, but I've seen prototypes. They have hybrid buses, but they're kind of like in the shape of subway cars, and the way that they're designed, they kind of flow. We could have amazing public transportation. We could do it, but we have people in office who are like, "Oh wait, let's pump the brakes. Let me listen to this lobbyist. Let me listen to this moneyed interest. Let's slow this down." No, we have to take serious, progressive, green action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have checked out maps of Boston's light rail system. I've checked out everything before because I've just had for the past 6 months or so been completely obsessed with how it works. And over the summer, I would ride it a couple times a week just because it was so fun to just be on there and experience going through there with going to the city without taking any roads at all. And I feel like the thing it needs that a lot of cities have that we don't here is a very expansive system. I mean, I was in London over the summer and to see like the amount of infrastructure they have dedicated to rail is it's immaculate what they've done there. They built this
Mm.
huge high speed rail system underground in most places and it's such a confusing map if you're ever taking a look at it, but it is a phenomenal way for the Londoners to get around all these places around there. And having an expansive light rail is something that would benefit the community, promote better energy. It'd be very much more cost effective, and it also eliminates traffic. You look at traffic
Mm.
cam at Los
Oh my,
Angeles. It is
oh my God.
7 lanes. Even 7 lanes isn't
It's
enough to get people to Los Angeles or even to get to LAX. 7 lanes, and
yeah.
it's still not even enough to get these people to
And
eliminate
this is
traffic
when
at all.
this is when we talk about finance again. People are like, "Oh, how are we gonna? We love to hear the we? How are we gonna afford it? How are we gonna afford it?" We just spent $5 trillion plus on international war for the last 20 years. That's more than enough. Stop spending money on weapons, dear God. We could do light rail. We could do high speed rail. We could do health insurance. We could do educate. We could do everything. So we have to stop the gears of war and build the gears of public transportation.
And that's very true. I mean, the U.S. is as much as the Patriots like to say we're the greatest country on earth. We are one of the biggest like threats of war on this planet. We like to stick our nose into where we don't belong, and that's the reason why we're told socialism doesn't work because every time socialism is trying to be implemented, the U.S. has gone full invaded it. The CIA tried to assassinate Fidel Castro how many times? I think it was over 600 times.
Yeah.
You were a bulletproof
Yeah.
vest. Anytime there was any sort of progressivism or socialism in the world, the U.S. just feels the need to go full throttle, go full invade, and that's why we're such a. That's why the U.S. is one of the greatest threats on Earth. Because if you implement any sort of socialism like that's the whole reason why the Vietnam War was even around.
Yeah.
It's because they were an upcoming socialist nation, but we just had to feel like we needed to destroy it because
Yeah. Yeah.
capitalism has rotted our brains truly, and that's the reason why if those European countries, those Scandinavian countries, are as close as we're going to get to actual socialism, at least in the current day, if they ever go further left than they are now, they're pretty much centrist democratic socialists. They've got great systems. I'm quite satisfied. I prefer they be a lot more left than they are now, but they have great systems of those Scandinavian countries and the Central European countries. But if they went from here to that little bit left, could you imagine
Oof.
what the US would do? We would full blown invade Norway and Sweden and Finland
Oh yeah.
to stop socialism. And that's why Venezuela is such in a decrepit state because we full on
Yeah.
invaded it, and that's why a lot of these countries are decrepit states. They like to say, you know, Iran is bad, Venezuela is bad, Iraq is bad, Pakistan's bad. Well, we blew up those countries however many
Yeah.
times. Like we're the cause of
Yeah.
that, and especially in the Middle East, Bush bombing Iran so many times, and
Um,
Trump's bombing of Lebanon and Syria, and it has just been. I can't even comprehend on how great of a threat that this country is to international relations. We should not have this superpower status that we have, but we do, and we exploit it. You know, any country implements socialism, 2 minutes later, we're full invading them, dropping bombs on them. And it is just, it is insanity. So I never want to hear anyone say we're the greatest country on earth again, because we're the reason for a lot of turmoil on this planet. Just because we have this privileged superpower position, we have all this money, we have like this super strong military. This we exploit it all in the name of stopping socialism, stopping, moving left, and preserving corporate capitalism. That is the main problem of this country, and a big part also why I became a Korean like I am now.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the the Iraq war, the Iraq invasion, just nasty, nasty and terrible. Um, I remember after 9/11, just hearing friends of mine be like, you watch them overnight turn into rabid war hawks. And I just remember being like, I don't know, like, okay, 9/11 was terrible, but I don't think we should be. I was really, really young, but the gears were turning. I was like, I don't think we should just be carpet bombing these people. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it'll be innocent people. And then later I found out, holy crap, million plus people were killed, and now and it's we're still feeling the echoes of that today. Iraq is in disarray. That's where ISIS festered, and then now ISIS is a thing, and it's just terrible. But um, yeah, I just stay positive and hopeful by looking outside. And whenever I see the opportunity, I talk to people about positive things like everyone deserves health insurance. Don't ever let that down. Everyone deserves a good wage. Don't, when people, I love hearing right wingers say, like, oh, if you raise the wage, we're going to have to raise the prices. No, you don't. You don't have to raise the prices. Your executives need to take a salary cap.
and they're
Your
already
executive.
raising the prices, and the minimum wage has increased. You see the minimum wage has since 2009 has just been flatlined, but prices have gone upward. It's not sustainable at all. You want to talk about raising the minimum wage will raise prices. The prices are already unaffordable, and the wages stayed the exact same. So I don't want to hear anything about that.
Like that's really weird. The executives keep getting the executives are getting raises and bonuses. That's really weird. Why don't they cap their salary and stop getting bonuses so that we can have a sustainable company? Well, you're creating this like executive pay, like it's nasty. And that's another reason why I got a finance degree, so I can rebut those right wingers who are like, oh, the prices are going to go up. No, they're not. Your executive pay needs to go down. The
Absolutely.
prices, and then on top of that, we need price caps. Like the inflation, like that's a whole other beast that's totally out of hand. They're like inflation, inflation, inflation. I'm like, um, all of these businesses are they're price gouging, and they're like, oh, we can't do anything. No, you guys have you have the greatest equipment in the world. You can meet the demand of the customer and stop this inflation spiraling out of control. But they're like, oh, our hands are tied. We can't do any. No, oh well, we're making billions. Oops, oopsies, we made billions. And yeah, I'm glad I can be there to be like, hey, your right wing finance is bogus. It's a fraud.
Yeah, it's literal corporate greed that's keeping us from
Yeah,
having this
exactly.
sustainable country. The fact that we want to charge, since let's just say for example 2009, you get that 7.25 minimum wage, and we'll say I don't know how much did a four-piece nugget cost back then? A dollar. Let's say a dollar. Four-piece nugget costs a dollar. Now it's I believe 209 for a four-piece nugget, and they want to say, oh, if increase the minimum wage, then burgers are going to go up, and you're going to get pay $6 for a burger. We're already paying $6 for a burger, and the wage
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not increased by a single cent, and it's doing nothing for the working class in this country whatsoever.
yeah. Inflation is a cheap trick to. I'm right now reading a book about how inflation got out of control after World War One. Germany Germany, they did really terrible things during World War One, and everyone was like, "Okay, Germany, you got to pay for this." And they had a ton of wealthy people in Germany. They had a ton of wealthy people, but the wealthy people were like, "Don't tax us, anything but tax." And they're like, "Okay, let's print money." So they printed money. They expanded the government balance sheet. Inflation went out of control. The Deutschmark went it went out of control. It became people, they have a ton of Deutschmarks that are that are worthless, and at the same time, labor unions were going wild because they're like, our wages mean nothing now. Now that inflation's out of control, we could do nothing. Our wages, they used to be X amount. Now they've lost 50% of their value. I don't know if it was 50%. It might have been like 40%, but it was insanity. And now the same thing is happening today. It's not as bad as World War One Germany, but all they had to do to balance the budget was tax the wealthy. And they were like, nope, we're not doing that. We'd rather do inflation and watch the labor unions go insane.
Because when the labor unions rise up, that's when capitalism loses its power, and that's the main
Yeah.
forefront of the politicians in this country. The only thing that they have to do is we have to preserve corporate capitalism. We'll do anything for that. We'll bomb other countries to preserve that, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to hear a single thing about how Russia or China is the greatest threat when we are so war hungry that we will go stick our nose into situations where we don't belong. And we have decimated countries, we've decimated villages, we've decimated towns and cities and communities, all in the name of preserving corporate capitalism in other countries. That's none of our business. If X country wants to become a socialist country, good for them. I'll cheer for them. Why is it the CIA's responsibility to go in and now bomb these nations? And
No.
another, like, I believe Obama bombed Somalia half a dozen times. What is that
Well,
up to? Somalia is one of the, if not the most decrepit nation on this earth. It is in terrible disarray. And what is bombing it going to solve just because there's six supposed terrorists there? What is
yeah.
that going to solve? That's the whole thing with the Vietnam War is you can't use the excuse, "Oh, we're bombing Somalia because there might be terrorists there." You can't use that excuse. In Vietnam, the US would kill innocent civilians because they could have been the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong, of course, for those who might not be aware, were soldiers of the Vietnamese army who dressed and looked like everyday citizens. And the US thought, oh, because they're the same as this, there are plenty of photos online of people's last moments who were 12 years old, just living in Vietnam, who were killed by the US because they might have been a terrorist. And we're seeing that everywhere around these warring nations. And it's just never going to stop. We need to just stop sticking our noses into situations where we don't belong. We need to completely defund the CIA.
Oh,
Uh,
I wish.
we need to stop a lot of funding to them. Even if we cut the military budget by 50%, you know how much wonders that could do? We can
Yeah.
sign off a check to another country, and with that amount, we could have ended homelessness. But we didn't. But
Yeah.
then 5 seconds later, we'll sign off to a country. Here you go. Here's X amount of money that we could have ended homelessness with. Then when you say a minute later, how about we end homelessness now? Oh, we can't afford it. Well, what do you mean? You just gave double that to a foreign country. What? It's such a broken system, and people who think that not voting for Republicans and voting Democrats is going to get you anywhere, you are sorely mistaken. The Democrats are on the team of the Republicans. They're going to ally with them when it comes to corporate capitalism. They're never going to be on your side. They're never going to support socialist ideas. They are not your party.
Yeah.
So,
There's a whole school of war finance too. Um, I mean, at times it's really silly. Like I remember seeing a few weeks ago, the Pentagon did an audit of its finances, and they were like, "Oh, there's billions of dollars missing," and it's just like, oh my god, like this is just silly. I just can't believe the our Pentagon's accountants can't find $1 billion plus. This is insanity, and then you know, um, we're just we're flooding the world with weapons, and it's terrible. We should be flooding the world with medical science and textbooks and social work and wind turbines and train parts.
even
Um,
medical events in other countries. I mean, we see all the time about how Cuba's developed a lung cancer vaccine
yeah.
for its people. You know, we are a more polluted country than Cuba is. We would benefit so much, and I don't know exactly if pollution is a major cause for lung cancer, but regardless, we can't have that here because I believe it's illegal for a U.S. citizen to go down there, and maybe it might be U.S. law, might be Cuban law. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I know it's against the law for someone from this country to go down there and receive that lung cancer vaccine. And the fact that we just refuse to do it because oh, it's Cuba. It's I can't even wrap my head around how scared we are of change from other countries. You know, we're not going to implement any of the systems up in Scandinavian countries because ooh, scary socialism. We're not going to implement this lung cancer vaccine that Cuba's developed. That would save so many lives. I mean, there are so many people
Oh yeah.
who smoke in this nation that would so much benefit from a lung cancer vaccine, and we're not doing it because ew, Cuba's scary socialism, and that's the buzzword, socialism. You say socialism, 90% of people in this country, alarm bells start going off in their head. They think the USSR is going to come bomb us because you mentioned socialism.
Yeah.
You need to stop this propaganda. We need to just the capitalist media has completely brainwashed us into thinking that socialism is this horrific thing that's going to lead us all to starve. But at the exact same time, they'll say, if we have socialism, you're all going to starve. 5 seconds later, they'll say, oh, the governor of Minnesota just signed off. Kids can eat free at school. That's socialism. So which is it? Is socialism feeding people or socialism causing people to starve? Make your pick. It's just pure propaganda, and it's never going to end until, honestly, until a revolution. And that's not going to happen for a long, long time.
Every single day. Another fun thought experiment. Um, compounding interest 1% daily, leads to a lot. So every day, I think, just get a little 1% better. Talk to someone, about something. I still skateboard time to time, and when I go skateboarding, I'll go to the spots around here. And when I'm resting, people are walking by. I'll be like, our mayor, Mayor Wu, she's a Democrat, but she's really, really progressive. And I'll try to spark conversations up with people because Mayor Wu wants rent. She wants rent control, rent caps, and people are like socialism, socialism. Ah! So when people are walking by, I'll have my skateboard. I'll just be sitting there hanging out. Yo, Michelle Wu, she's awesome. And like some people be like, "Oh no," and some people like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, let's talk." And we'll just try. I try to strike up conversations, but 1% daily, and one day I hope we have an awesome revolution where we could really establish a really good multi-economic system with more egalitarian democracy. I hope one day, but until then, we're in the thick of it, and it's really sad when people are like, "Cuba, it's a dictatorship. China, a dictatorship." I'm like, hey, whoa, calm down. Like they're not dictatorships. If you want to study a dictatorship, check out Saudi Arabia. They're literally a rigid, uncompromising monarchy, and they will cut your head off if you're a democracy activist. That is a dictatorship. There's no way around it. They have a king, a prince, and that's done and done. There is no electoral system in Saudi Arabia. Cuba and China, they're not radical, grassroots, egalitarian democracies, but they have like electoral systems. They do have voting. They do have different they have frameworks of electing people. There's monarchies out there that have no electoral framework whatsoever, and the U.S. is glad to help them out. And I'm sure you've seen Michael Moore. There's a famous quote. Michael Moore didn't say this, but he mentions this quote that United States, we support dictators sometimes, but there are dictators.
Mhm. I mean, we just gave Saudi Arabia a ton of money to bomb Yemen. I mean, we are such close allies with Saudi Arabia, and if we truly want to, of course, we claim to be a democracy. We're a corporate dictatorship. The entire voting system is completely preserved and funded by corporations who
Mhm.
their money decides who wins the election at the end, pretty much. There's no getting around it. But then we're gonna say, oh, we're pro democracy. We're gonna go support a dictatorship nation. And like I said, when you were saying that, I thought, oh, Saudi Arabia probably is one, and you mentioned it. And Saudi Arabia has been such a violent nation to other Middle East countries, and the fact that we are just blatantly giving money to them and recently they've been using money to bomb Yemen. I mean, what what
It's
is our main goal at the end of this? We wanna maintain relations with countries we like, but it's coming to a point, and it's always been like this, but we're seeing especially now that we are giving weapons and machines of war to these countries to be using. It's like I said, Yemen or whatever country you wanna talk about, and we are
Mhm,
just we are such a violent nation when you think of it. We're one
mhm,
of the
mhm.
world's biggest threats when it comes to violence. You want to be scared of Russia? Fine. You should be scared of the United States.
Yeah. When Ronald Reagan was president, he was helping create the Taliban and he was denouncing Nelson Mandela at the same time. It was just mind-boggling. I just can't believe like and then that all turned in that all came to a head in the 2000s and then finally Obama killed Osama bin Laden and but I mean like that would have never happened if Ronald Reagan didn't finance, guerrilla soldiers in the Middle East to fight the Soviets. That would have never happened. But no, and then they financed people in Central America to kill communist organizers. I don't know how you want to say it, but yeah, it's just and it's all around this propaganda of that they're coming for our riches, they're coming for our wealth, and it's just nasty. It's solidarity is beautiful. We're super intelligent beings. We can figure out a great system where everyone's well taken care of equitably. And this whole fear mongering and manufacturing consent for war, it's terrible. We're better beings. We need to get past this.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you see some sort of person calling for activism, typically going to be a socialist calling for activism of, oh, we need to do something as simple as provide kids school lunches. You will see all the Republican politicians on Twitter. They will say, this, ex-politician or ex-activist wants to implement this communist idea of, and it's like that rings such a bell. We've been so propagandized
I
to
got
be.
another. Sorry,
I was just
I
gonna
got
say
another.
to be
Go
scared of
for it. Go.
these words, socialism, communism, Marxism. Oh my God, if you walk up, like I said, to 90% of the people in this country, and you say socialism, communism, Marxism, anything like that, they will start freaking out because they've been told that it's this scary ideology and that capitalism is the best and we have to adhere to whatever the government's saying.
There's a huge movement going on right now that investment banks and M&A banks like to do. Um, Employee stock ownership plans. You're from Pennsylvania. Have you ever been to Wawa?
It's in East PA. I'm a Sheets guy. Sheets is in Western PA. Wawa is the eastern half. That's a big rivalry. Is Sheets versus Wawa. But Sheets is on the west side in Ohio and such. Wawa's on the east side. I've been to a Wawa in Delaware, but not a PA Wawa.
Wawa is owned by the employees.
Yes.
And oh my God, communism, communism. Wawa is owned by the employees. They're not radical socialists, but the employees govern the equity and the executives. And this is a really cool book about how employee stock ownership plans are blowing up right now and how Republicans and the left like it. They like seeing it's every country in the world loves employee stock ownership plans, and it's been proven time and time again when you give more control to your employees, you get more productivity. Not only control, but you give them a share of the wealth. You get more productivity, you get more happiness. When coronavirus hit, a lot of these ESOPs, employee stock ownership plans, these companies like Wawa, when coronavirus hit, none of the employees fled because they were like, yo, I have so much at stake with this company. I have so much money invested in this company, and they give me a say in how it's governed. I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to help out however I can. So there's proof that socialist economics work right there. When you give people an equitable stake in their company, they're more productive, they help out more, and they're more active. And Wawa is proof. I know you're a Sheets guy, but I love me a Wawa egg salad sandwich.
Yeah, and it's something just as simple as that, leading to more production, leading to more habits. I mean, if you paid employees, what employee is going to be happy working for 7.25 an hour at a McDonald's, dealing with angry customers and orders all day? That's a tough job. I have so much respect for fast food workers. It is incredible. They work for little pay under tough conditions for peanuts, and pay that'll get them nowhere in today's economy. And to see people like you mentioned, Wawas that own those companies, and their production output is so much better. When you're getting paid 7.25 an hour, and in that hour you cook or you sell, take orders of $600 in profit revenue. What is that going to make you feel? That's going to make you feel like you're completely worthless. So the best thing to do is to have those employee share companies, and that increases output. If you paid McDonald's employees $15 an hour, let's say even you go as far as $20 an hour, you know how much harder they're going to work? Because if you're working 7.25 an hour, you feel like, I'm getting 7.25 an hour. I can just kind of do whatever I want. They don't feel like their work is worth the pay. But that might be the only job they can attain to this point. They might be a student. They might have just some troubles with other positions. Those people are workers too. There's no such thing as unskilled labor. That is a capitalist buzzword. There is no such thing as unskilled labor. All labor is skilled. Flipping burgers
Yeah,
takes skill. Taking orders takes skill. There's not a single job in the world that is unskilled. That is just a propaganda word used by capitalists to say these people deserve less money because they're unskilled. They work harder than
absolutely.
CEOs do.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, you know, not only is it not only is every job skilled, but every job is important. Like when I was working at that investment bank, I would always talk to the janitors. Not always, but I would always, hey, what's up? How's it going? And just try to make them feel like, yo, I'm not just this random white guy walking by. Like you cleaning our bathrooms and cleaning our environment is absolutely essential for sanitation, hygiene, and biological safety. Like, thank you. You're a janitor. You're helping us. I didn't say that to him, but I would just say hello and stuff and try to show some heart. But
Yeah, you're always told, oh, if you don't go to college and get a real job, or you don't get a real job, you'll be flipping burgers or be working as a janitor. Those are some of the most hardworking jobs out there. They're so important. They're so vital for businesses, and to see them being thrown under the bus as this uses this example, if you don't turn out to be this successful business guru, it's just insanity. The real thing should be, hey, if you don't work hard, you might end up as a CEO.
that's a good one. I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. Um, and also I've seen people in the finance field and other business fields. They'll be like, "Oh, I made millions of dollars. I retired and I started a burger restaurant." I'm like, "So what the hell?" So like, you made millions of dollars and then you became a burger flipper because of as a hobby. So that doesn't. Why didn't you just become the burger flip? Oh, because you wanted economic safety. Got it. So we need to solve this linchpin of economic safety. Because think of a world where you wake up and you're like, yo, I'm gonna go to the restaurant union because I feel like learning food and culinary skills. Hey, restaurant union, do you have a spot for me? And the restaurant union will put you, hey, we need a line cook at this barbecue restaurant. You're like, cool, I'll go do that. You do that for a year, and then you go, hey, yo, I've learned everything I need to know about barbecue. Now I kind of want to be a wind turbine tech. So you go to the wind turbine union. Hey, do you guys got a spot for me? And they're like, hey, actually, if you're willing to move to Connecticut, we need a wind turbine tech. and the union will place you there. And then you do that until you find where you need where you what you really like. You know, imagine an economy and a system like that where we have really good labor unions who are rank and file powered, and you don't have to be stuck at a job. You have health insurance, schools available, your house. You know, imagine you moved from Pennsylvania to Nevada. You check in with the local tenants union. Hey, tenants union, I've just moved here from Pennsylvania. I need an apartment. I kind of have some wind buying experience. They're like, cool. Actually, we have an apartment over here with this tenants union, and we need turbine tech over here in this county next to Las Vegas. Cool. And they put you in an apartment, and you're like, I don't like that apartment. They're like, okay, well, we have a couple other options. You know, imagine a system where you don't have to sell yourself out to go make millions just to go become a carpenter. You can just become a carpenter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be the most ideal system in the world, and a lot of these workers might be scared because although it's illegal in some places, if you say, we want to start a union, you could get, yeah, in some places you might be able to get fired, but at least they will threaten to fire you, and because of course bosses and they're not going to like that at all. Oh, they hate unions for that exact reason, and if a lot of workers are scared to bring up the idea of unionizing because they feel like that they might lose their jobs for simply doing that, and that might be the only job that they could have gotten. That might be their only source of income. They might have nothing in savings because they're spending everything on the insane rent prices or grocery prices or anything. They might have kids or whatever, and they're scared of that, and it's very understandable why. And I think they're very valid for being scared to unionize like that. But we live in a society that promoted that and didn't see it as this scary socialist evil idea. Workers would be so much better off. There would be so much more production. Workers wouldn't,
Mhm.
you got to think even some with mental health and depression rates would definitely decrease after things like that. And all we're
Yeah,
doing is promoting this corrupt system that is killing people and is just so unsustainable for a country, and especially a country at this size. When you have
absolutely.
300 plus million people living in a country like this, this is just not sustainable in the slightest. It's sustainable if you're the 1%, but 99% of us are not the 1%. So we need to stand up and we need to truly get a grasp of an idea on what's going on with this. And I'll say it again, hate the Republicans all you want, voting Democrat isn't going to get you there. It's got to come
Yeah,
from, and voting is a very small part of it. Getting involved and talking to workers, and even just if you're at a fast food place and you can try to unionize, you've just made a whole heck of a lot of change just in your location only. So there's
absolutely.
plenty of things to do if even if you're a worker trying to get more workers' rights and a labor activist. That is truly the best thing that you could do for yourself is starting. You might have a company of, let's say, you and 10 other coworkers at a fast food joint. Get those 10 people on board, get them unionized, and you've
Yeah.
just made a huge change in the business that you're at now.
Even if you don't get a raise, being unionized, you're in communication, you're helping each other stay active, you're helping each other stay aware. I used to have a roommate, and he voted for Howie Hawkins. He was like, I'm gonna vote Howie Hawkins with you." I was like, "Yeah," but he was a data engineer, and he was like, "Why should we unionize? We already get well paid. We're already through college. We're professional, intelligent." I'm like, dude, they have yacht associations. Yacht owners are unionized, business owners are unionized. Wherever you see an association, that's essentially a union. The other day my fiance and I were watching something, and I forgot, we started laughing because it was like a podiatrist union or something, like a foot doctor union. And like when you associate with people, you're creating a bond, you're creating a network of sharing ideas, sharing communication, sharing strength in your industry. And no one needs that more than that McDonald's cashier, that burger flipper, the transit platform worker who's out there watching people, hurt themselves because they're you in Boston. We have a problem with substance abuse and people are dying in the subways, and the transit platform workers have to see that, and you're getting paid $15 an hour to administer Narcan on someone, and it's crazy. So yeah, association, and people always talk about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment. It's about guns. The Second Amendment is also the right to association, the right to unionize.
Yeah, that's a great point that a lot of people tend to skim over. And you really just need to take a look at what you can do locally and in your own business. Even if you unionize and you already think you get paid well, maybe conditions will increase. Maybe you can even get it's something simple as getting better model computers for you to work on. Maybe your computers are old and slow, running Windows 8 or whatever. Try to unionize. So you could get new computers, Windows 11 computers, whatever new computers you want. Make working a whole lot easier.
The Green Party is unionized. Their paid employees are unionized. I think with the IWW. That's a
Yeah,
few years ago. But the Green Party, they're unionized. So the homeowners association, that's a union of homeowners. Like, so everyone's unionized except, and there's a reason why, because they know if, capitalists know if their peasant workers unionized, then they're going to be like, wait a second, these are horrible conditions. We need better pay. We need more sustainability.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've had a great podcast. We're already at over an hour and a half time, but this is the longest one I've done so far, and then we're gonna cut it here. This has been great talking to you. I appreciate your insight with all your finance background and such. And anything else you want to close out with?
Just from a finance point of view, to anyone listening, don't believe in the hype. Don't believe in shorting and derivatives. Don't believe in any of that garbage. True wealth is gotten by organizing with people in your community and the people around you and collecting strength and wealth that way.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
great episode, and we'll be back next weekend for episode number 6.
Thank you, Brody.